Daily, law enforcement is set up to work with them. New military vehicles and equipment are being injected into the society every day. Obama states the purpose of this is for a drill that will help train military for combat situations and to get the public used to interacting with them. The United States of secrecy has kept you all blind, just like the US citizens are kept blind. Bills have been passed secretly, without going through Congress, without being seen or approved by anyone but the president alone. Bills that make martial law easily available, indefinite detention and torture of any citizen without hearing or trial legal, as well as the assassination of any US citizen without need for explanation unrestricted by dictator Obama. The United States has been a police state for many years now, but it is coming to a head. Obama is planning on implementing martial law so he can further control the population, murder citizens, stay in power and eventually bring about a new world order. Already Russia, China, and countries in Europe are in alliance with the US on this and plan to aid in creating one world government. We are not here today to discuss this but to help save the people. If you think the American Holocaust will not affect you, you are sadly mistaken. This is going to spread. This is already taking place. People are already being murdered. The United States citizens need your help to save the country and their lives. It is time to wake up. It is time to stand and unite. As citizens of the world, if millions of us fall, we all fall. If millions of us are murdered, we can all be murdered. If you turn a blind eye now, the same will be done to you. This message may seem desperate and unbelievable to you. It is. The people of the US are desperate. The corruption in the government of the United States of America is unbelievable. Now that you know people will die, what will you do about it? We are anonymous. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Citizens of the world, we must unite, before it is too late.
Imagine for a moment that somewhere in the middle of Texas there was a large foreign military base, say Chinese or Russian. Imagine that thousands of armed foreign troops were constantly patrolling American streets in military vehicles. Imagine they were here under the auspices of keeping us safe, or promoting democracy, or protecting their strategic interests. Imagine that they operated outside of US law and that the Constitution did not apply to them. Imagine that every now and then they made mistakes or acted on bad information and accidentally killed or terrorized innocent Americans, including women and children, most of the time with little or no repercussions or consequences. Imagine that they set up checkpoints on our soil and routinely searched and ransacked entire neighborhoods of homes. Imagine if Americans were fearful of these foreign troops and overwhelmingly thought America would be better off without their presence. Imagine if some Americans were so angry about them being in Texas that they actually joined together to fight them off in defense of our soil and sovereignty because leadership in government refused or were unable to do so. Imagine that those Americans were labeled terrorists or insurgents for their defensive actions and routinely killed or captured or tortured by the foreign troops on our land. Imagine that the occupiers' attitude was that if they just killed enough Americans, the resistance would stop, but instead, for every American killed, 10 more would take up arms against them, resulting in perpetual bloodshed. Imagine if most of the citizens of the foreign land also wanted these troops to return home. Imagine if they elected a leader who promised to bring them home and put an end to this horror. Imagine if that leader changed his mind once he took office. The reality is that our military presence on foreign soil is as offensive to the people that live there as armed Chinese troops would be if they were stationed in Texas. Shutting down military bases and ceasing to deal with other nations
with threats and violence is not isolationism. It is the opposite. Opening ourselves up to friendship, honest trade, and diplomacy is the foreign policy of peace and prosperity. It is the only foreign policy that will not bankrupt us in the short order, as our current actions most definitely will. I share the disappointment of the American people in the foreign policy rhetoric coming from the administration. The sad thing is, our foreign policy will change eventually, as Rome's did, when all budgetary and monetary tricks to fund it are exhausted.